This is The Culture.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast. We are here to talk about one of the films we saw at the Montclair Film Festival, which is going wide this Friday. We're going to talk about The Holdovers, which was directed by Alexander Payne and starred Paul Giamatti, Divine Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined, as always, by Liz Seiko.
Hello.
As well as producer Zach Miller.
Hey, how's it going?
And we all got a chance to see this film. Zach didn't see it at the festival, but eventually we ended up seeing it in theaters.
Yes.
And we had a chance to see it at Montclair.
Montclair.
Whoop, whoop, Montclair. Thank you guys again for that. So this was a movie that I absolutely adored. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. Spoiler alert, I guess. But this movie it made me very emotional. It hit me in all the right feels, and we're going to cover it to the extent. I don't want to spoil too much in terms of the movie, but you guys should go out and see it. But Liz, I want to know your first thoughts on the movie, and then we got to turn around to Zach because we haven't heard any of his thoughts from him yet. So let's start with what you thought about the movie.
I liked the movie. I thought it was a solid script, the performances I thought were incredible. Very strong performance. I think for me, Giamatti and I'm sorry, I'm losing my
Sessa?
page really quickly.
Dominic Sessa?
Yes, I thought Dominic Sessa for a first time acting performance was great.
First time ever. Like crazy.
Pulled right out of acting school, I think it was, and put right into this film. So I think he had an incredible, just a first time really carrying the film on his back. I thought the connection and relationship between the actors was very strong, and I think that's what carried this film throughout the whole time. I wouldn't say I was blown away, just because I do feel like I've seen this story before played out. It wasn't kind of anything super new, but I think made this different and a little bit better was the performances by the actors, and specifically Giamatti. I think he brought a lot to that character of the kind of cranky teacher who starts off harsh, but then eventually turns into a heartwarming figure that they end up looking up to. Mm-hmm. So no, overall, I enjoyed the film. I thought it was it made me feel very cozy inside.
Okay, Zach, let's hear your thoughts.
I really like this movie.
Let's go.
I really loved it. This is I'm even gonna go even bolder. This is my favorite movie of the year.
Wow!
So far.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, no,
okay,
this
so
is
he sat on it a little bit.
This movie just hit home for me in so many ways. Just being a period piece, feeling so good at replicating that era of the 1970s, and I saw one interview with Alexander Payne, and he just really wanted to pull a piece of that time period and just feel like you got slipped into that era so well, and it being so authentic to the period, it just felt so cozy, like Liz was saying. And then
I want to jump back into that.
The word of
I can picture myself around a fireplace watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You're exactly right.
I agree, by the way, in terms of the way that the movie makes you feel. But so there was an interview I think that IndieWire did with Alexander Payne and they specifically used the fact that people felt very cozy and warm when watching this film, and he was like, I hate that. So
wait,
that's why
what?
That's why I said that's the tidbit pre-recording.
He hates that people walked away. But so then what did he want audiences walking away feeling?
I think he wanted to, like Zach said, put us in that time period, but I don't know if he wanted us to feel so great about everything that happened, especially based on maybe what the ending of the film is.
I don't know if I feel great. I don't know if cozy necessarily
I don't want to pull
feel...
things out of context, so you continue to talk and I'll look
I don't know if by saying cozy it makes me feel that they all ended in a great place. It
wasn't heartwarming.
No, it wasn't heartwarming. It just kind of gave me that it made me ready for the holidays.
Oh, it's so much worse than I said.
Oh, is it really? Why? What's the interview?
So I'm just gonna read the headline first.
Okay.
This is from IndieWire. Alexander Payne doesn't understand why The Holdovers is considered a cozy film. That nauseates me. So it makes him nauseous, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Payne said of the film's label, whether to be complimented or insulted by it. So very, very interesting.
I'm confused a little bit by that.
I'm gonna keep
I don't
reading.
know what he would.
Oh, so
want.
all right. So this is a report from IndieWire. The interview came from Vanity Fair. He's always a little surprised about the word cozy being applied to the film in reviews and marketing materials. Oh, it's like a cozy movie or a warm hug or putting on a sweater and on a cold day and drinking hot cocoa. Part of that nauseates me a little bit. He continued. Should I keep going?
Keep going. I do want to.
He continued. I thought I was just making a decent movie about people. Well, you're the first person I'm getting to ask. What is it that felt cozy to you or warm? Is it the texture of the film or the quality of the human relations presented? What was it? We can talk about two things. One is this quality that it has, perhaps that we can pierce our natural assumptions about others, given new knowledge that everybody's got a story. You meet someone, you make certain assumptions fairly or unfairly, usually unfairly, and then the more you get to know the person, the more you see the humanity underneath. And then by extension, in this film, if there's a feeling that seemingly very disparate people can with time discover some common humanity, that's a nice thing. I wouldn't necessarily use the word cozy though. Why do you use the word cozy?
See, I think he's coming at it from like cozy for the screenplay, but like that's not what I'm saying is making me feel cozy. I think it's of like, first of all, being in the 70s, it gives me that like nostalgic vibe, which kind of does give you that warm, cozy feeling. But then also making it surrounded about the holidays. Like any holiday movie makes you feel quote unquote cozy.
It's
like
true.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy. It just means like, oh, I feel warm. Like I feel very cozy watching this. It's not like, oh, they all ended in a good place.
It's a lot of like little intimate moments with people grouped inside, like literally huddled and like embracing the weather outside. So like that's very cozy in itself. Like, you know, they're just trying to have moments with each other while it's snowing, and there's the backdrop of having Christmas time and just all the noise that's going on outside. There's things going on inside. So
what I was able to deduce from that was the fact that he is talking very much about character and the way that a lot of the characters have messy relationships, so to speak. And not all of that is cozy, because you see even the way that some of the relationships develop over time in the film. That the characters kind of, they're not always in the best of ways with one another. I do think it's interesting that he's talking so much about that when he also isn't the writer, though, which was interesting to me. He didn't write the script, which I thought was interesting, because he actually writes a lot of his own scripts, but he did not write this one. So I thought it was interesting that that's the way he's approaching it. But
I'm also confused on like why he's going so hard against that word, because it's not like this is a heartbreaking movie either. You know, it's not like
there are moments though. So a lot of the film, the theme is loss for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But it's also wrapped up in a bow that feels, I don't know, it feels like it puts you right where you want to be within the story. Like I think I said to you when we walked out, I felt like a fly on the wall for so much of the movie, which you don't feel like for all movies, right? Like obviously you can't compare it to like big blockbusters or anything, because none of that feels real. But when you're talking about a situation with real people, or people that are supposed to be characters that are supposed to feel real, right? He does a great job of sort of putting you in that environment and feeling things out with the characters. That's how I felt. And like at times in the movie, it's not cozy, but it's not supposed to feel that way.
Yeah, but I also don't feel like this movie is gut-wrenching, kind of, because even when they are talking about loss and like looking into that topic, for me, it was never watching the characters experience loss. It was more about, okay, a character has experienced it before, but now we're watching how they're able to make connections in spite of that.
Grief, all of how they're struggling to like deal with their obstacles and just things that have come in and out of their lives, and how they start to get seen together by each other. So and that's like they're discovering themselves through each other, and what can I improve in my life because of this person is noticing it, and that type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting though? I think that now, just thinking back on some of his other films that at least I've seen, I do think this is like as heart-wrenching as he gets in the way he frames things. So like The Descendants is a movie that it is heartbreaking in premise.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of
emotional scenes that you watch the actors actually go through emotional moments, rather than, I feel like in this movie, it's more talking about what's happened in the past.
Somewhat, not as much for Dominic Sessa's character.
I don't know.
I know, but that scene also didn't hit you emotionally.
No.
Oh, I feel like it hit me. But I don't want to give things away like that. Those are big plot points. But I think that, like, even like in The Descendants, I always think back to like the scene where Shailene Woodley's character jumps in the pool and she like screams underwater.
Mm-hmm.
So much of the heartbreak that he presents on screen, at least in the films that I've seen, is like this more reserved heartbreak in a way. You know, like he doesn't want it to be over dramatized or overly emotional, which I think is a good. Not everybody is that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Paul Giamatti's character in general is a great sort of snapshot of the way he's able to do that with characters, where it's obvious that he has a lot of fucking issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very obvious he has a lot of things that happened in his past that have led to him being where he is and being basically an alcoholic, and being so harsh on all of his students and everybody that is around him. But Payne does it in a way that is not showy. And that's part of what I liked about it. But I feel like I should give a little bit of backstory on the premise, because we actually haven't even discovered what the movie
here we
is.
are, like, deep diving into the like the heart,
meat of
the
what
meat
this
of
movie
the
is.
story.
All right, so basically Paul Giamatti, he plays a history professor at a prep school. It's like a boarding school for young boys, right before college, and he's basically this like curmudgeon, a very cranky character, and you actually get an indication early on in the film that at least Dominic Sessa's character, he is succeeding in his class. He's one of the only students, maybe the only student in his one class that is succeeding, and he's getting good grades in the class, and he's a harsh grader, all these things. And his character is supposed to go away for Christmas with his mother and his mother's new husband. And she calls him the day they're supposed to leave for Christmas vacation and tell him that he has to stay on campus. And Paul Giamatti's character gets stuck as the professor that has to stay on campus this year, first time ever that he's had to do it for the Christmas season. So a lot of the story is based in his character, Dominic Sessa's character, as well as Divine Joy Randolph's character, and she plays the like head cook at the academy, the prep academy, and it's basically this like three-hander where you start to see who these characters are, their relationship to one another over a couple of weeks during Christmas vacation, and how their time together is able to build out into something that you could view as beautiful. You could see it as painful. You could see it as heartbreaking and emotional, however you want to interpret it. What did you think about their chemistry between the three of them, either one of you guys?
Zach, you want to go first?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good because Giamatti is this very standoffish person that he seems almost impenetrable emotionally. Like he's made up his mind and he's like, I'm stuck here. I don't think anything is going to work out for me. Clearly, like, I don't want to be here for you guys just as much as you don't want to be here, you know? So he just kind of has to deal with it and, you know, still be senile and kind of depressed too. And he's just always in his own world. And then Sessa is going through his own turmoil with his relationship with his family, and he is just kind of stuck there too. But I think when everything starts to open up for the three of them is when Divine Joy Randolph is starting to open up on her son and the loss that happens there. So I think that he needs... They both start to become more vulnerable with themselves when when they see that she needs somebody there. And I think there's something really beautiful in that you can just, you know, whatever someone's going through, it's always important to be there for them. And I think that, you know, once she notices the boys being there for her, she starts to integrate herself into them emotionally and pick them apart a bit. And she gets a really good bond between Paul Giamatti. So I really liked that too. And she was the one person that could boil him down and understand him because he's got problems himself too. So I really like that. And it's just a very human piece, you know? It's just like, how do people bottle up these emotions? And Paul Giamatti's been doing it for years in the movie, not in real life. But his character's been doing it for years. She's been doing it for probably a year now, I think, since she lost her son. And then Sessa is like presently going through his turmoil. So it's all about these timelines of them bottling up their emotions and then suddenly letting it out through each other. And then I think that was really good how they chose to articulate their emotions through each other and the bond that comes with it. So yeah.
I also really liked that it was a really nice like growth of a relationship. They didn't all of a sudden just become best friends in the beginning, and it wasn't like it was them butting heads in the beginning. It was just kind of like, okay, I don't really know you that well, like let's get to know each other and like see how this goes. And it was really beautiful in some scenes where just between like Giamatti and Divine Joy Randolph, where they were sitting together like watching TV and drinking, and there wasn't any underlying tone or meaning for that scene. It was just showing that these people are alone in this building together, and now they're trying to enjoy each other's company in a platonic way and in a friendship way. It wasn't like, ooh, like two people in a room together with a fire, like are they gonna like, is something gonna happen? And it was like, no, they're building a foundation of friendship. And it was showing you those like early steps of them learning to trust each other, which I liked.
I think it's great to see a movie like that interweaves so many just common human decencies and relationships in something that feels so vintage and like retro too. One of the things that that happens in the beginning of the movie is when the production logos come up, they're all stylized as if they're from the 1970s, which I thought was cool. A nice touch. And we always like some of the stylized approaches that directors and studios have when they do things like that. But the cool thing was you see the relationships develop over time, and it's not something that feels like work. It just feels like you're literally there with them and I think that might be part of why it feels so cozy of a movie, because so much of it is in relation to seeing just people around the holidays together and taking interest in one another and making that decision where it's like, we are the only ones here. We have to learn to like each other. We have to learn to spend time with one another. And you see that develop between all three of them, even more so towards the back half of the movie with Angus, who is Dominic Sessa's character, and Paul, who is Paul Giamatti's character's name in the film. There are some emotional beats that come out of that in terms of Sessa's relationship with his father, as well as just Paul Giamatti dealing with the fact that he's so unliked and he just wants to find care and love from people, and he disguises it so well in this film of just trying to push everybody away. But so much of it is based in that it's obvious that he just wants companionship, and you see that through Carrie Preston's character as well too. But
I was gonna say too, like he is such a book nerd, and he is so opposite. There are so many scenes where he's like at the bar trying to talk to people, and he's quoting history and talking about periods of time, and he's so opposite socially. So he can never really connect with people, and then throughout his character arc, he kind of has to dial it back and then just kind of focus on what other people are interested in too, and not just his own worldview and perspective. So that was really nice. And I thought that I thought that Sessa was great too, like just going into the performances of it. I think that he was phenomenal for just a breakout star, and then to be in your first feature film with Paul Giamatti and a notable director, and Divine Joy Randolph as your almost mother figure in the movie too. Like that was such a great charisma pairing, and what a pedestal to step into as a first time actor. But
what did you guys think of like earlier on in the film? It's kind of an ensemble of younger like male actors. Did you guys like some of the acting, or did you think like the stronger performances came when it was just the three trio?
I liked the trio of actors because so much of the weight of the film is on their shoulders. But the moments in the prep school I didn't really mind, and I'm glad that they pivoted away at the time that they did. I think that the story needed to rest on the laurels of these are the characters you want to drive home. These are the characters that you want to propel the story forward. And I think it obviously pays off because so many people are talking about not only Paul Giamatti for an Oscar nomination for Best Lead Actor, but Joy Randolph is getting a lot of attention for hopefully Best Supporting Actress as well. So I hope they're recognized for it because I think their work is awesome. Yeah,
and I think it was also her role as Mary. Definitely, I could have seen in a different script somebody making her not as present or like relevant, and they would have made her just like a single scene character kind of. But I'm glad that they really pushed her up to the front of this, and I fully think that she's kind of the heart of the story. She's the one that yes, you feel bad for Angus Tully throughout the whole thing, but personally for me, I felt like his character was slightly a little bit too unlikable. So part of me was like, I get it, you've been through a lot, but what I don't know. I just kind of didn't sympathize with him that much. But then when Mary would come in, like that's where my heartstrings were getting pulled.
I did notice as well, just looking over some of the stuff beforehand, that this is only the second film Payne's directed that he hasn't either wrote or co-wrote either. And the first one was actually Nebraska, which I think is his like most lauded project, which is interesting. But I also read that Alexander Payne, when he approached the writer, Hemsington is his last name, David Hemsington.
I'm looking him up.
So when he approached him when Hemsington approached Payne on the project, he was the one that was like, I want Paul Giamatti for this part. So he always envisioned him in this part. So did you guys think that I thought he was almost perfect in this role.
I thought he was great.
So is there anyone else that can fill this role, or it probably would have just been in a completely different movie?
Well, that's my thing. I think because I think the script was good. I think the dialogue, it was very witty, very fast paced, but the overall plot point of the story is nothing new. And so I think if you had a different actor in his leading role, it probably wouldn't be that great of a film, to be honest. I think the reason that this film is getting so much hype and that it is going to have such credibility throughout the years is because of Giamatti's performance of embodying this character to its fullest extent.
I think it's such a great mixture of drama and comedy too. Mm-hmm. And so much of it is comedy beating you over the head. It's just putting you in real life situations with people that you've dealt with that are just like him. Zach, do you have something to add?
I was also going to say too, kind of with how you were saying that, we've seen this story before a little bit. It reminded me a lot of Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
But flipped a little bit as, Mr. Keating is not this nice, inspiring teacher anymore. Mm-hmm. Like Paul Giamatti is the senile, depressed, but he kind of comes out of it and finds his way through the people he meets. And I think if it did go back into that prep, like the rest of the kids that were in the movie, it would have definitely felt like a copy of Dead Poet Society. But because they focused on three main characters and their stories and their troubles, it was less about the dead poets, like, oh, this is about art, this is about finding that inspiration for yourself. Like it was less of a coming of age story. I think it was more of a Christmas heartbreak.
Yeah. Well, I
guess
I think it was also able to like focus in on Angus Tully's story rather than overall it's a young group of boys learning to be nice to each other and learning that like you need to respect people, which again I think we've seen before. I like that they zoned in on one specific character and really let him shine to tell his specific story of really just being left behind in life.
Yeah. I think the most beautiful part of this film is the fact that it gives you a sense of how someone can come into your life when you least expect it and play such a major role.
Forward. That's a good way to say it.
I think that Giamatti's character, Paul's character, the way he affects Angus to such a degree, especially seeing where they start out in the beginning of this Holdovers period, which again, I don't think we've alluded to that, but the movie is called The Holdovers because the students that are left behind at the academy are called the Holdovers. Which I think is a nice way to give the film its name. But there's so much built in that, and as someone, I know, Liz, I've talked to you about this a little bit after the screening, but as someone that came from education, to see such a beautiful relationship formed between teacher and student that doesn't start off in the best of terms, right?
Yeah.
Like there are students that I had where it's like they gave me a lot of shit early on in the year, and like they might have been students that were troubled or people that were just dealing with certain things in life, and then you wind up having a really great relationship with them at the end of it. And some of them, I've been lucky enough that some students have like come back to me and been like, you know, I really appreciate, like I had a student, I used to teach video production for the people who don't know this or are watching, but there are students that have come back to me and been like, you know, I don't really care about video production, but the things that you taught me about being a person were so important to me. And I think so much of that is reflected in the scenes that they share together. The scenes with all three of them are great.
Yeah.
Really great. Divine Joy Randolph is fantastic in this film. She's the heart of the movie, like you said. But the scenes between the two of them towards the end of the film for me, and the way they have their like connection towards the end of the film, not giving away exactly what happens, but there's so much that hit me emotionally there that I think might have hit a little bit harder than you, but
Yeah.
it made it almost like a perfect movie for me. Like it just wrapped up in such a great way.
Yeah.
Because you felt like that tension between them. Also,
Yeah, I just felt that so much of their relationship was built on screen, which I really appreciated. There wasn't anything left for you to interpret. And sometimes the movie we're going to talk about right after we're recording this is an entirely different movie.
Yeah.
Which you can interpret a bunch of different things, but this film just felt so comfortable. It just felt something
felt cozy.
I guess it felt cozy. It felt cozy to me too. I don't know.
It was very straightforward too. Like it felt like a novel. It felt like, you know, it was set in this period of time. It didn't have to deal with anything else outside of it except their relationships and the setting that it was in. You know, it didn't have to have anything to do with America, or even though it was about Vietnam, it didn't go into Vietnam as, you know, is this a controversial thing or where do you stand? Like it was very like, someone was lost here, it's affecting this person, and that drove a lot of that narrative, as well as, you know, their own losses and bonding together. And it's really just like these three people are kind of like random characters in a way, but they just ended up at this place at this specific time, and they ultimately affected each other. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys think it was a little long?
I thought it was perfect.
No.
The runtime was
great,
perfect.
Great.
But you thought it was a little long,
Did you
right?
think
I felt like there were the last 10 minutes. I was kind of like, oof.
When
Which part?
Yeah, I was just saying, can you
I
pinpoint a
started
part?
fading a little bit, like, and I think it's because I wasn't like emotionally invested in it, is when he was like packing up his room and like she came to the door. I was kind of like, let's go.
Let's speed this up.
Let's wrap it up a little bit. Come on.
So the runtime runs at
2:13.
2:13. So it's a little on the longer side, not
I think
Killers
they
of the
could have
Flower
shaved
Moon
those.
long.
Oh, definitely not. But I think they could have maybe shaved those 13 minutes. I think they could have come in under
Interesting.
2 hours.
I don't know. I think the movie.
I know you guys are like chef's kiss.
I know. It's so good.
I like the ending too, because it was like, you know, he was leaving his entire life behind. So it was, and then there was that whole sacrifice that he makes at the end.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the movie's out. Like, we can spoil things,
Well,
but I want
yeah.
people
Yeah.
to go see this movie.
I mean, we didn't say like specifics or anything.
No, the one thing I thought was really interesting though too is there are a lot of movies that are made in this way, right? Where you have, similar to what Zach was just saying, where you at least have moments where you set up strangers in a position where they're strangers and then they become something. That could be a romance plot, or it could be friendship, whatever it might be. Something about this movie just feels fresh to me. Like, it just feels
refreshing too.
Yeah, and maybe part of it is that it's not attached to, like Zach was saying, it's not attached to anything. It doesn't have a political statement to make. It doesn't have to attach itself to having a certain opinion one way or another. It's just a movie about people, and it's about people that are suffering or dealing with life in their own ways, and they come together to figure things out as a unit. And I thought that was, I don't know, there was, I feel
exactly what we needed, honestly, like, in a way.
100% exactly the type of movie that we needed for like the time. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so like, just to put it in perspective, I love Priscilla too, right? But it is still like a commentary on, you know, women in that kind of position and that type of, like, there are things that you have to still interpret as a viewer, which is good. And I like movies that still pose those questions and introduce those types of subjects. But that's what I was going in prepared for Priscilla. And Holdovers, I didn't know what to expect other than the trailer, and I figured it was going to be another mentor mentee type of situation, and then they just have the human nature behind it and the emotion that drives it, and just having it all focused on the bond between people is probably why people like you and me, DJ, are getting so emotionally invested, is because like that is like what we focus on at the end of the day. Like we all can't relate to being superheroes or married to Elvis Presley. So
that's true.
I mean, I can relate to it. You know why I think though this is making you feel that way? I'm looking at the writer's IMDb. This is the first film he's ever written. Actually, he's always written for TV.
Okay.
So to what you're saying is, I think that with television, I think it's much more focused on characters and relationships rather than telling you a theme or making the audience walk away thinking about a topic. So I think that's probably why you're feeling that way.
I'm interested to see what he does after this then, because I like his ability to work within character. So I'm very interested to see. But even going back to what you were saying too, how like Divine Joy Randolph is not relegated to being a cliche.
Yeah.
As fucked up as it is, that is refreshing.
Yes.
Like that is something that we have not seen on screen enough. So and it's not something that like, it's also not a commentary. Like it just is what it is. She's a character. Yeah. You actually built a character.
She's a person.
Out of a great actress.
She's not, let's cast a female just so that there can be a love interest there or some sort of sexual attraction. It was like, no, she is going to be standing on her own 2 feet, have her own pillar, and have her own problems like every person does in the world.
Exactly. I love this movie. I'm obsessed with this movie.
I love this movie too.
It's one of my favorite movies of the year. Should we do scores?
You're gonna watch it every year for Christmas.
I might.
I have to rewatch it too. Like I really do. I want to do another dive of just like how their arcs go over. What am I thinking?
Zach's losing
improve. Yeah, I know I'm losing it. I'm thinking of Christmas now.
We're close to the Christmas season.
Yeah, but
this is a cozy movie.
There's a lot.
It's making me feel cozy.
During Christmas.
Okay.
Well, Zach was drinking hot cocoa.
Yeah, this probably spiked it at this point.
Yeah.
But you go ahead. What's your score?
I don't trust you.
Give us
I don't trust myself.
I'm giving this movie a 10 out of 10.
Ooh.
So this is one of my 4 10s of the year so far.
4 10s. What are the other 3?
I believe we've talked about all of them on the channel at some point.
Probably.
But just refreshing. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Oppenheimer, which I know you don't agree with.
I don't.
And Past Lives.
Well, I agree with that one.
So those are my 4
good.
10s for the year, and all movies that are so entirely different for so many reasons, which makes this is one of my favorite movie years in a very long time.
Wow.
I would say probably Zach and I were talking about this on the phone the other day. I think probably since like 2019 when Parasite won Best Picture.
Okay.
This is like my favorite year since then, and we had a lot of COVID in between there, so that might be part of it. But I love this movie. I can't wait to watch this movie all the time, like literally all the time. Liz, give us your score.
Dude, maybe we go to Zach.
No, give us your score.
I'm gonna do an 8.5.
That's a good score.
That's still a good score.
It's not
Yes.
10, but 8.5.
I respect that. I respect that.
I respect it. Do you want to give a reason? You don't have to.
Yeah, no, give us
I think
your overall.
my reasons are I feel like I've seen this script before, and I do think that the lead actor, what's his name again?
Dominic Sessa.
Yeah, I think although he did a great job as a first acting role, I do think that the reason I didn't get there super emotionally and feel attached to it was because of his performance. I think he leaned a little bit too much into being the asshole character rather than giving it multiple dimensions. I think like in the beginning they were probably like, just don't show all your cards and like don't make the audience like feel too much of the ending. And so then he went the complete opposite way of being like, then I'm just gonna be an asshole. And I wish that I had felt a little bit more to him, and I think it's due to his performance. But he's green. He'll probably be like incredible as he gets more jobs and starts working in more films. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Cool.
That's I think I'm gonna give it a 10 too.
Oh my gosh.
And just Paul Giamatti, I will see him in anything that he's in. He always brings so much to his roles, and I don't know if we said this already, but I really hope he gets an Oscar nom. So I don't know if he'll win, but he deserves a nom.
But he'll definitely get
All right, so
nominated.
this is what everyone gun to your head. metaphorical.
Okay. Ooh.
Gun to your head. Paul Giamatti gets a nomination for this role. We'll go around. Liz.
Yeah, he gets a nomination.
Zach.
Wait,
Gets a nomination.
just a nomination?
We're just going to start with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to agree. Now, gun to your head. Does Paul Giamatti win the Academy Award for this role? Liz.
No.
Zach.
I say no because they won't give it to him.
I'm going to say no too.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I do think that he's one of the front runners based on what I've seen so far this year. However, there's another performance of a movie we've already seen that I think is going to win.
And I saw a movie that neither of you have seen.
That I know.
Oh God, I'll start crying. Think about it.
All right, Divine Joy Randolph. Does she score a nomination at the Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actress? Liz.
I think she's gonna slide in there maybe right at the end, so I will say yes.
Zach.
But I don't think she's a front
Yes.
I'm also going to say yes. Do any of us think she's going to win?
I don't know everything else that will be out by then.
I'm going to say
I
no.
want to say no. Yeah.
I think Vanessa Kirby, is she going to be lead actress for
She
Napoleon?
might be lead.
Really? You think?
Yeah,
I don't know.
She
It
might be
depends on how
supporting.
much screen time
She's the
she
one that
really
I've been
has.
hearing is up there. Actually, you know what? Before we wrap up this episode, everyone, let's just do a quick.
Deep dive.
Let's just say who are the people that are
Supporting too.
being
Like,
discussed
Our
right now.
front runners.
to think about supporting actors now. Like I only have a few.
Okay,
off
so
the
this
top
is
of my head.
according to Variety. Oh no, this is from last year, guys. Sorry,
Oh God.
can't do that.
Oof.
Let me do.
Oh, can I give
predictions.
you my top 10s in the meantime while you're looking?
You already have a top 10 that you think are gonna get
Oh
nominated.
no. Sorry, like what he said.
Oh,
four
oh,
top 10s.
oh,
yeah.
your
Oh, you have
10s?
4 10s for the year.
I
Yes,
think
go
I
ahead.
have 4.
Okay.
I have this one, Holdovers. Anatomy of a Fall was crazy.
Stop! Don't say anything more.
Okay.
That's all I,
I heard
need.
it's incredible.
Past Lives
And Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. I feel like I had one more, but maybe I gotta look again.
Okay.
I think Spider-Verse was like 9.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
So
So this is the updated Variety predictions. Okay. So there are 5 people on the predicted nominees, and guess who number 1 on the list is? Divine Joy Randolph.
Get it.
Ooh.
Love to see that. The other people they're predicting as of right now are Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, who I do think will get a nomination.
I do too.
Julianne Moore for May December.
interesting.
Penelope Cruz for Ferrari.
No.
And
No.
America Ferrera for Barbie.
Oh, I love that.
I thought
Okay.
she's really good in the movie.
Go off.
Next in line, they have Jodie Foster and Nyad, Rosamund Pike for Saltburn, Viola Davis for Air, who I do think will slip in, Sandra Hewler for The Zone of Interest, and Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple. So that is their current top 10.
So she might
So
take it.
I think that there's a good chance based on that metric, which is only one outlet, but I think she's
We'll
she's
see.
in.
We'll have to see. I
got
have
a
to see a
solid-
few other things still.
Yeah, we still got some other things to say. All right, guys. So that was our review and discussion on The Holdovers, which was directed by Alexander Payne. It stars Paul Giamatti, Divine Joy Randolph, Dominic Sessa, as we talked about. If you guys don't already, please make sure you guys like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you guys leave your comments. If you've seen the film, if there's anything, you guys have any questions, we'll answer them in the comment section. So please, we like to be as active with you guys in the community as possible. If you guys don't already, follow us at Cinema Wave Media. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Threads, we're everywhere. You could also follow us at _Culture Wave Media on Instagram. Just signing off, I am Darian Scalamoni,
I'm Liz Seiko.
I'm Zach Miller.
and we'll see you guys next time.